Fed up Rudy steamrolls Team Mueller after they block the road to the midterms. Wow. By US4Trump.com. Rudy Giuliani, personal attorney to the President of the United States, has tweeted some interesting news today about the Mueller investigation. He is ready for the Mueller team to submit their report. Their concern is that 60 days prior to an election, any investigation should be wrapped up so they do not sway voters. That's not the intention of Mueller, that's for sure. The Department of Justice has rules regarding investigations and elections. The DOJ does not allow employees to interfere in elections, nor does it allow the appearance of interference in an election. Since Robert Mueller and his merry band of witch hunters directly report to the Department of Justice, then they must follow the DOJ rules and regulations. As per USA Today, Giuliani's own Giuliani's own team worked on its counter report, which he said would be released after his team reviews Mueller's report. No one is as hyper aware of the DOJ guidelines and law as Rudy Giuliani. In a Saturday tweet, the president's attorney stated the following: time for the Mueller investigation to file report. We will release ours. Don't interfere with election like Comey. He continued the president had nothing to do with the Russians. He didn't obstruct an investigation. 1.4 million documents and 32 witnesses. No privilege raised. Additionally, Rudy tweeted, CNN poll shows 66% say Mueller should complete his investigation before the upcoming elections. DOJ has policy to refrain from investigatory activity in a 60-day period before election. DOJ should require Mueller to submit his report before September 7th. Even CNN is sick of their own self-promoted witch hunt. In the CNN poll, it also notes that 72% of Republicans, 69% of independents, and a whopping 57% of Democrats want to see the Mueller probe end by midterms. And Watch CNN must admit on air that 2/3 of the Americans want to see Mueller wrap up the probe by the midterms. And here are Giuliani's tweets. Right here. So let's take a quick look at what CNN has to say. The fake news.
New this morning, breaking news. A new CNN poll shows that 2/3 of Americans want Special Counsel Robert Mueller to wrap up his Russia investigation before the November midterms. And for the first time, President Trump's approval rating is actually higher than some of his predecessors at this point in their presidency. What does this all mean? One man knows.
You know that they're actually freaking out by having to do this report, right? But they have to.
And political director David Chalian joins us now with the new numbers. David.
Good morning, John. We'll get back to those big numbers you were talking about in the Russia investigation.
Job approval 42% and disapprove 53%. And you know they're fake. These numbers are fake. And for them to have to come out and say that people want to 66% say Mueller should wrap up the probe by midterms, and they come out, look at this, the job approval, 53% disapprove, you see? Come on, man. CNN, what a joke you guys are. And if it's 66% on their numbers, it's like 96%. There are about 4% of the lunatics that want this to continue.
In a moment. First, his overall approval rating, President Trump at 42%. That's 3 points higher than our last poll, but he has just been remarkably consistent, staying in this low 40s range for basically the duration of his presidency. And
yeah, right.
The bit of history we showed there, too, which is that for the first time in our polling, Donald Trump is not at the bottom of this list when we compare him to his predecessors at this point in their presidencies. In the August of the second year, Reagan, Clinton, and Carter all numerically below where Trump is now. Clearly, that will be welcome news. As for the Russia investigation, Donald Trump's overall approval rating is still pretty dismal. And this is one of his worst issues, his handling of the Russia investigation.
Yeah, right.
He's upside down 21 points, 34% approved, 55 disapproved. But this 34%, John, that's up 5 points. And what is driving it? Well, nearly 70% of Americans want to see him testify if he's indeed asked to do so under oath.
Why would we want him to testify? If 66% want the probe to end by the midterms, why would you want to set up a president for a perjury trap? Come on. Anybody with common sense knows what Mueller is after. He's got nothing, so he's going to try to set up Trump in a perjury trap. People, that's why people don't want to listen to CNN.
Those people, mainly Democrats, I should say, who are feeling a little bit better about how he's handling the investigation, which may give Trump and Rudy Giuliani some solace in their strategy, that having Trump out there saying, hey, I want to sit down with Mueller, I want to talk to him, have these prolonged public negotiations, that may be actually helping his approval rating here. Then you mentioned the big number, I think this is the biggest number in our poll today, 66%, 2/3 of Americans think Bob Mueller should wrap this up before the midterms in November. And if you look at it by party, this is just astonishing, because usually the Russia investigation is completely polarized. But if you look at this number by party, Republicans at 72%, 69% of independents say he should wrap up before the midterms, 57%, a majority of Democrats believe so. This is clearly going to be very welcome news to the president. He's going to use this as a message throughout the day, I'm sure, saying, see, we told Mueller he has to wrap it up. But I would just note, a majority of Democrats also want him to wrap it up, and that may be because they think there's some proof there, and that is going to somehow help them win the midterm election. So that
they're hoping that, yeah, you see, the Democrats are hoping that there's some proof there. Even they have to admit there's no proof there. So they're looking at no there.
Maybe what's going there. And in fact, when you look at Mueller's approval rating, he's up 6 points. 47%, again, largely driven by Democrats, but up 6 points in his approval rating since the last poll. And what does it mean for the midterms and how people think the Russia investigation will impact their vote? 30% of Americans in this poll conducted by SSRS say it is extremely important to their vote. That's up 7 points, 15%, very important, 53%.
Yeah, let's go by your numbers.
And again, Democrats are driving this, so we are seeing in this poll that Democrats are starting to really believe that this is an extremely important issue to their vote in November. John, Erica?
Right. What does it all mean? David Chalian, stick around. What does it mean for Omarosa? We'll discuss that as well. Joining us, Jeffrey Toobin, CNN chief legal analyst and staff writer for The New Yorker. Jeffrey Toobin, about this poll, that 66% want the Robert Mueller investigation wrapped up by the midterms is a fascinating number. As Chalian points out, it could be the Democrats think that it will help, that it will have incriminating information on the president. That's why they want it out. But just by historical comparison, if we can put up the list of past investigations, this has gone on for 15 months. That's not that long, relatively speaking. You look at Benghazi, Iran-Contra, which you know intimately well,
Yes.
Whitewater. You know, it's not that long compared.
That's true. And if I may,
You see how they're trying to
disagree
spin
with
it?
my younger identical twin, Brother Chalian.
Yeah, but in all those cases, there was a crime committed. That's why it went on longer. Here, where's the crime? There is no crime.
So what? I mean, 66%, they don't care about, I mean, like, first of all, Mueller doesn't care what his polling numbers are. But also, like, half those people want it over, as David said, because they think it's already proved that...
Just like David had said, so you're not disagreeing.
Well, no, I mean, well, yeah, I guess I sort of am disagreeing with you. I never like to disagree with you, David, but I just think this number doesn't tell us anything in particular. What I think is the most important thing about this poll, as you said at the beginning, Trump's numbers never change. I mean, we have breaking news on CNN constantly, whether it's Mueller or Helsinki or anything, and his polling numbers haven't changed, you know, outside the margin of error in a year and a half. I mean, it's just amazing to me.
Perhaps the most offensive thing you said to David is that he looks like you.
That's true.
Identical twin thing, that was low.
Yeah.
That was low.
Yeah, do we know where he'd get a good lawyer? You know, the other thing you bring up that I think is really interesting is when we look at this number of 2/3 say they want it wrapped up. Is that I want it wrapped up just to wrap it up because I want it done? And to me, what that paints is a very damaging picture for any investigation moving forward that we get to the point where, well, it's all just about public perception. We don't want it wrapped up because the actual investigation itself is finishing up. We just want to be done.
Well, I think that if you were to ask the Republicans why they
Sure.
want it wrapped up, certainly that would be the reason. But Democrats want it wrapped up because they want impeachment proceedings to start. That's why it's very hard to unpack that 66% number.
But
You know,
I mean, partially to your point, I mean moving forward, if this is the way we're looking at things, right? So now the next investigation, whatever it may be, they all of a sudden, as soon as it's announced, you want it over with because you want to get to that next part. And nobody even cares about the findings anymore because everybody's made up their mind.
I mean, that's been the success, I think, of Rudy Giuliani to turn this into a completely partisan issue.
So David,
It's that point, Jeffrey, why I think the poll number is significant, because as you've noted time and again, this is less about a legal strategy and much more about a political strategy. And so I agree with you, there are differences as to why Democrats want it over or Republicans want it over. I think that is a fascinating conversation to have. But the fact that 2/3 of Americans want to see this done before the midterms, the fact that the midterms, the importance of this investigation to people thinking about their midterm vote is on the rise, that Mueller's approval is on the rise, this is becoming a bigger issue than we'd seen, and the Trump-Giuliani camp talking point has been to wrap it up, and now they have a data point to help them sell that in the political argument that they want to make. That's why I think it's a pretty significant poll number.
And David, if I can ask you one of the Toobin sanctioned areas of the poll, which gets to the president's overall approval rating, which sits at 42%. If we can put up on the screen again where that ranks among past presidents. Because as you noted, David, for the first time, his approval rating is actually higher than past presidents at this time in their administration, Reagan, Clinton, and Carter, and below Obama in 2010. You know, again, the White House will look at this and say, hey, look, things are good for us. But the fact of the matter is every other president's gone up and down. Reagan, Clinton, Carter were all way above that at times and then actually went back above that from where they were here. Trump never moves. And one other point, we don't have this to put up on the screen, I'll just note, at 47% approval rating, President Obama lost 63 seats in the 2010 elections.
Do you see how they spin it? All negatively. All negatively. You know, these people are sick. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.